What if I said one of the wives owned a house so huge it could contain a hotel, yet still managed to find something to complain about? And what if the real problem isn't the house, but the dysfunctional foundation of the family itself? Today we're entering the universe of sister wives, where opulence clashes with delusion and dysfunction is just another day on the calendar. Hi everyone, it's Monica and welcome back. We've got a lot to unpack today, so let's get into it. Robin once claimed she was only commenting on Kody's mock-up of the Coyote Pass house, but watching the scene now, it's honestly unbelievable. The house is enormous, truly massive, and still her reaction was that it was too white and too small. That's when her real feelings start to leak out. The irony is not lost. Kody's plan was the complete opposite of the homey, individualized aesthetic Robin employed in her own life, while the other wives centered on function, building homes with each child having their own bedroom. Robin's method seemed less family and more solitary. It would have been so much better to award each wife extra rooms, particularly with children and grandchildren coming over, a couple of holiday guest rooms, perhaps a shared upstairs area for the children. But what we received instead were 4 separate staircases. 4! That's not only unnecessary, it's a testament to how segregated everything had become. 2 staircases would have been more than sufficient. 1 could have even been sufficient if the upstairs was shared. But the larger picture is this. This home was never really constructed for togetherness. It was planned around separation. Picture a bonus room in which all the children could spend time together, a room that would bring all of them together. But that wasn't Robin's vision. She could have complained that the house wasn't big enough for 3 more wives and their children, but the truth is, it was more than big enough for the only family she ever really seemed to care about, her own. Now, let's discuss the debt. Robin brought quite a bit of financial baggage into the family, and yet her expectations were orbiting the stratosphere. Is this the house with the elevator? Because if you require an elevator in your residence, it generally means you have a mobility problem, or you're just too entitled to climb the stairs. And here we are, constructing mega mansions when the world is facing rising tides and disappearing animal habitats. Men shower homes like this with fortunes while the world suffers. Meanwhile, Kody, who hardly even wanted to show up, rushes off to the hospital to see his child be born after having earlier proclaimed he didn't even want to go. Typical behavior. Let's return to the white paint complaint. The house wasn't even constructed yet, and she was already complaining about the color. Sure, it's not perfect, but white was better than the muddy brown that it ultimately turned out to be. Robin was not thinking long-term. She had a child in college, 2 teenagers, and yet her choices seemed to be centered on her own short-term comfort, rather than what the children might require in the future. As Frank Lloyd Wright used to say, Flagstaff's reddish hues are worthy of houses that flow with the landscape, not garish white boxes. But naturally, in Robin's universe, she gets her way. All of these wines weren't mere little things. They spoke to a larger truth, an exaggerated sense of entitlement and increasing distance from the rest of the family. But here's the part nobody wants to talk about. What if one mum is actually poisoning her daughters against the rest of the family? Over the past season, we've seen Aurora and Brianna act more and more like outcasts, upset, dramatic, and increasingly distant. Could it be that Robin is the one feeding that narrative? Perhaps she's informing them that the rest of the family does not care about them, making them believe they've been left behind. That is not parenting, that is manipulation. She's not teaching them to be grateful, they're learning to be victimized. And that's the most dangerous part of all. Robin never makes a point of how privileged her children are. Rather, she always reminds them of what they don't have, and they feel isolated when actually they're the safest members in the whole Brown family. The house is enormous, but the psychological space within this family is narrowing rapidly. And as it always turns out, what you see on the surface is only the beginning. Aurora and Brianna have been fortunate to have a current and present father, at least in comparison to their siblings, who appear to barely exist anymore on Kody's radar. While Kody was quarantined during the COVID outbreak, he was devastated after being away from Aurora for only 10 days. He spends his time regularly going months, sometimes longer, without calling or even reaching out to his other children. The emotional chasm is present, and it's widening by the day. Early on, Aurora and Brianna presented themselves as sweet and nice, but their suffocating self-pity, now that it's been years, is cringeworthy. It's difficult to imagine Robyn isn't playing a big part in this. Her attitude seems to be passed directly to her daughters. The manner in which she and Kody speak about the rest of the family publicly suggests that whatever is being said behind closed doors must be much worse. Their words would likely reinforce a culture of exclusion and betrayal, a culture that the girls have clearly adopted. Consider, for instance, the fractured family reunion that occurred when Christine was leaving to move away after breaking up with Kody. Rather than exhibit any sadness or warmth, Robyn's older daughters were standoffish and cold. Arms folded, no hugs, no goodbyes, no smiles. Their faces weren't one of sadness, but contempt. It wasn't teenage attitude, it was personal. These are signs that they've been affected by Robyn's bitterness. And this isn't rumour, there have been actual occurrences. One of Robyn's daughters was said to have attended school with Savannah, but didn't even say hello to her. That's not coincidence. That's indication of learned behaviour, most likely from home. Even more revealing is the way Robyn's youngest daughter facilitated the notion of her mom dating again, copying what she had witnessed. That reflects on a family pattern where children internalise adults' problems and learn helplessness and dependency. Robyn's method appears manipulative in an emotional sense, imposing her complaints and fears on her daughters, keeping them emotionally attached to her. By threatening and encapsulating others as dangers, she asserts control and reinforces intimacy, not based on affection, but based on duty. And of course, Kody isn't exactly a passive observer in all of this. Sure, Robyn might be the entrenched emotional power, but Kody's absence or presence still affects the children. They probably hear the fights, soak up the chilly silences, and learn the blame games. Let's hope that some of these children will eventually escape the poisonous pattern and create identities separate from the trauma they grew up with. The girls, especially Aurora and Brianna, seem to have very sheltered lives. They have small social circles and engage little beyond the immediate family. This lack of autonomy hinders emotional growth and makes it hard for them to establish normal relationships. Aurora works part-time and maybe has a boyfriend, which is positive. But overall, the family dynamics are claustrophobic and script-like. The events are close-mouthed, scripted, and inflexible, an atmosphere in which emotional candour is frowned upon. The constant refrain that they're being left out of activities like Thanksgiving is overblown. In most instances, there are good reasons the family members can't be together: COVID protocols, time conflicts, or logistical problems. But the children are frequently informed it's because they're unwanted, underlining a sense of rejection. It's a toxic and inaccurate message that perpetuates their victim mindset. Rather than mending the family rift, Robyn appears to exacerbate it. She hasn't had sincere efforts to bond with the other wives and their children. Instead, her behaviour and presence have created tension and resentment, and the greatest victims are the children in the middle. Eventually, it's sure these kids will develop their own conclusions, apart from what they were told. With distance, perspective, and experience, they will start to mend. It's heartbreaking to see such young ones carrying so much emotional weight. But with space and time, recovery and growth can be achieved. Ever curious about what it's really like being the new wife to a family of multiple women and almost 20 kids? The reality of Robyn's position in the family isn't only complicated, it's tragic. After seeing all the episodes and looking back on how everything went down, it's difficult not to see Robyn's ascension within the Brown family as something much more strategic than sentimental. In my view, Robin didn't necessarily desire to be part of the family, she desired to be boss. Her joining the family wasn't about love or attachment, it was about stature. From the start, it appeared that her true intention was to overthrow the other wives and occupy the #1 position herself. Being the alpha female was not a side effect, it was the mission. Sweeping a man from under the noses of 3 women and almost 24 children became her greatest power high. And let's be real, she appeared to feed on it. The constant crying, the fragile demeanor. It all felt like an act designed to maintain a narrative where she was the helpless victim, the misunderstood one, the only wife with a pure heart. And Kody, of course, rushed in to play the hero every single time. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like to me, and probably to a lot of other viewers too. She seemed to think that she would immediately charm the children, win them over, and rescue them from their frazzled mothers. From the inside, dope Kody and Mykelti had given her so far, she had all the information, what was good, what wasn't, where the vulnerabilities lay. She had precisely the right way to play the game, and more crucially, precisely the right way to play Kody. It was never all about love, it was control. Robin knew that Kody would prioritize her, and she leveraged that to gain power over the whole family. The other wives were in the background playing supporting roles in the life she was creating. It did not take long for Kody himself to start pushing the rest of them out, and Robin did not intervene. In fact, she pushed him towards it. Others argue she craved to be popular with the children, but what we saw of her, she possessed a quiet anger towards most of them right off the bat. She demanded immediate loyalty, immediate adoration, and when that didn't happen, she exploded. She demanded obedience or went cold. It's classic manipulative parent stuff, those who want their children to perform emotionally or else. And the Brown children weren't going to perform. Initially, they attempted to go along with her to prevent tension, but it soon became apparent that Robin was not a person they could trust. When the children did not fall into line, she turned against them very fast. She assumed the boys would be charmed, that the girls would emulate her. None of those things transpired. Only Mykelti at first warmed to her, and that was distorted and turned into something malignant later on. Robin is an expert at reading people, knowing what moves them, and manipulating that for control. She teamed up with Mary early on because Mary was the legal wife and occupied a symbolic top spot in the family. Robin played off that relationship to her benefit. Janelle was the family bookkeeper, and Robin ensured family funds went into her own company, ultimately declaring herself Chief Operating Officer and in direct control of finances. Christine, the family's emotional center, the nurturer, was a different challenge. Robin initially attempted to woo Christine's children, flirting with Logan, attempting to be Maddie's cool friend, and lavishing attention on Mykelti. But Robin's caring gesture was superficial, and when it failed to stick, she struck back by turning Kody against Christine and her children. Although the other wives hardly ever criticized Robin in public, they knew just what was going on. Robin wasn't making an effort to unite the family, she was splitting it, wedge by wedge. She liked the way Kody started distancing himself from his other wives. She enjoyed being the favorite, but she didn't want to be the lone wife, not exactly. What she craved was dominance, the power to make decisions without having to bear the whole weight. Robin not expecting Christine to leave was a surprise. She wasn't ready for it. And even if she says so now, I don't believe she wanted to be a secondary person in Kody's life, as her own mother had been in her. She desired to be at the center. Therefore, she destroyed all the things the other wives cherished. With Mary, she utilized the children Mary loved most to get her needs met, and then broke the relationship between them. She drained Mary's position and influence until there was nothing left. Robin's ascent wasn't about family, it was about strategy. And while the cameras may have captured tears and trembles, behind the scenes was someone quietly dismantling everything the Brown family used to be, piece by calculated piece. Christine used to be a mother to all the children, loving them all equally, but Robin would not let that position go on. Rather than sharing the childcare, she employed a nanny, paying another to do something that her sister wives had done voluntarily out of love. Janelle, who had been handling the family finances with competence and honesty for a long time, was quietly removed from that position after they relocated to Flagstaff. From there on, things started to get different, and not in a good way. Robin never quite thought the other wives would leave. She believed they were too dependent, too scared, and too devoted to leave behind. Beyond that, she thought their financial stability with the show would keep them there. Their silence and obeisance were as good as guaranteed to her. So when at last they did depart, it wasn't merely surprising, it was infuriating. How could they shatter her perfect public image, her authority, and her paycheck? She viewed their leaving as a betrayal, not of family ties, but of her ego and control. Her victim script has been at its core from the start. That's how she initially gained Kody's heart, playing the battered and discarded woman who was in need of rescue. That same script played out after she married into the family. Now she was the excluded wife, the victim of cruelty from her sister wives, always requiring Kody to rescue her. It was her persona and her strategy. Whereas other wives stood together, Robin was playing another game, casting herself as the one requiring rescue and the one to whom loyalty was owed above all. Behind the scenes, she started taking over the family voice. During group interviews, Robin more and more dominated the talking points, quietly asserting her version of things and insidiously taking on the role of the family's representative and polygamy expert. It was a deliberate strategy and it paid off, so much so that eventually even Kody came to rely on her to frame the family story. She positioned herself as the ideal sister wife, but only publicly. When Mary announced to Leon that the divorce documents had been completed long before Kody was informed, Robin inserted herself with judgment. Her talking head switched to an edit, in which she condemned the timing as improper. But she often refrained from speaking up on behalf of the other wives during confrontations with Kody, instead holding back her opinions to be shared in confidence, where her sway over him was unopposed and unrestrained. Even to this day, years after the fact, Robin holds on to her reality. She refuses to admit guilt, even the infamous wedding dress debacle. Even though video proves she took the personality test, along with the other wives, she dishonestly claims that Christine took it. This isn't a matter of forgetting, it's manipulation. She twists the truth, stating that Kody didn't select her wedding gown, conveniently forgetting he probably expressed approval, and she interpreted it as permission. She splits hairs to deflect responsibility, always working a second narrative that serves to defend herself. Kody now attempts to peddle the story that Robin is shy and misunderstood, but it's difficult to believe her when she inserts herself into every discussion and presents herself as the expert. When she comes to visit the family, it's maddening to see her talk over other people who have lived polygamy much longer. People such as Christine, who is an AUB royalty and has held deep cultural experience for all her years. For real, her feedback is important in comparison to anything Robin offers. But Robin's ego is bigger, and her tears more dramatic. She uses vulnerability as a tool to control rather than to bond. She has managed to manipulate public opinion in some quarters, but at a price. She might have won her battle, but her image is ruined. She desired it all, status, power, validation, but didn't anticipate the backlash that would follow. Ultimately, her grand plan succeeded better than she likely ever could have hoped. But here she is left in a role she never really prepared for, that of the sole wife remaining. But here's the catch. Robin never aspired to be the sole wife. She aspired to be the most significant one. She lived for competition and the power of being Kody's choice, repeatedly. It was only possible due to the fact that Kody permitted it. The other wives, after years of suffering and exclusion, finally awakened and left. They understood the power equation wasn't holy, it was manipulated. And the moment that illusion was shattered, everything shifted. The cracks in this family didn't begin in drama, cracks began in the children. When the eldest started going to public school, they gained new ideas. Robin's strategy, leaning on weakness, weaponizing vulnerability, only functioned independently. But when the children began to mature and be exposed to more of the world, her influence diminished. Vulnerability provided Kody with the opportunity to play the protector, the hero, the one who always had to save her. And the further he moved into taking on that role, the further back the rest of the family receded. Most striking is the ways in which all three of the original wives surrendered to make space for Robin when she first appeared on the scene. Mary went so far as to divorce Kody so that Robin could marry him lawfully, a courtesy that required massive emotional sacrifice. And when Mary sat in that attorney's office signing those divorce papers, it was not only her marriage that ended, but also the moment Robin's scheme was in full swing. Mary was clearly upset, grief-stricken at losing her legal status with Kody. But predictably, it was Robin who pirated the spotlight, her blubbery tears, her theatrics of despair, commanding all the attention, as if she were the one surrendering something. And in an instant, Robin's financial hardships became the community's problem. The rest of the wives were having to pinch pennies while Janelle struggled to balance the books, simply because Robin contributed nothing to the marriage but debt and requests. It's not hyperbolic to say that Robin may be one of the most manipulative, cunning women ever to grace reality TV. She knew precisely what she was doing from the beginning. Mary, it seems, was the softest target, vulnerable, alone, and desperately in need of a friend. Ostracized by Janelle and Christine early on, Mary gravitated toward Robin, not knowing the price of that friendship. It was a tactical blunder. Janelle and Christine might have had a tight vote together with Mary, but instead left her without any anchors, giving Robin even more space to control. But beneath all of it was the issue of trust. Mary never had that. She always defended Kody's side, who always defended Robin's. Time and time again, Mary turned on Christine at the most critical junctures. And although it's heartening to witness Mary at last breaking free from that emotional cell block, her Stockholm Syndrome unraveling live before us, the fact remains the harm might be done. Christine and Janelle recognized the change many moons ago. They understood the tide was shifting, yet Mary continued to sing Kody's praises as she drowned in rejection. Subsequent to that, it seemed Mary was attempting to control the optics, pressuring Kody to be the one to break it off so she could maintain face. In her culture, a man who rejects a wife can be shunned, so Mary appeared adamant to let everyone know that it was he dumping her. The entire ordeal became nasty, and all along she was not only mad at Robin, she wanted everybody, Kody, the wives, viewers, to know what was going down. And Kody? Let's get out of denial about this mall obsession. It isn't. There's something cultish about it. People have spotted him walking Chandler Mall by himself, hair flying in the wind, speaking on earbuds, dressed in a blue polo shirt, jeans, and brown dress shoes. No children, no family, just him. Nearly like an ordinary guy, nearly. Why is he so frequently there? The drive from Flagstaff to Chandler isn't brief. And for what? Lone shopping excursions. There are rumours. Perhaps he owns a shop. Perhaps he's scouting for possible new wives to milk ratings when business is slow. His three staples have always been the same: introduce a wife, throw a wedding, or relocate the family. Rumour mongering gets spread, tabloids retell it, and the cycle repeats. Others claim he still works gun shows in Phoenix, but that doesn't account for the mall rat tendencies. Unless he's around to subsidize Robin's shopping excursions with employee prices at Claire's and Hallmark, it doesn't pan out. Something's definitely not right. The hoarder house got some recent maintenance done, work on the heated driveway, which might indicate that a sale is imminent. Or perhaps they're holding out, hoping against hope that this fantasy life Robin depicted still has value. In the meantime, Kody's entering his red pill stage, a ridiculous turn for a man who once used his 3 wives to excuse every gripe about modern women. The irony writes itself. Robin, for her part, continues playing the long game. But karma has a way of circling back, and if it ever catches up to her, a lot of viewers won't be surprised. The bottom line is this. Kody Brown has become America's oldest mall rat, flipping his hair, chasing attention, and maybe, just maybe, hunting for wife number 4. The rest of us? We're just sitting back, watching it all unravel from a safe, mall-free distance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Sister Wives Underground for more in-depth dives, hot takes, and no-holds-barred breakdowns of all the drama. I'll catch you in the next one. Be well, and sending lots of love to you all.